The cold rain pounded his face, stinging painfully. Standing at the entrance of that glittering restaurant, his soaked clothes clung to his skin, the chill seeping straight into his bones. In his head, a timid voice screamed, "Go in. Sophia is waiting for you. What if you catch a cold?" Sophia? Sophia. The heroine of this abusive novel is also the goddess Ethan. This current body I'm in has been groveling for years to win over. Shut up. I answer that voice. The original Ethan's consciousness, coldly in my head. She had you come get her in the rain. Does she consider you a person? Does she see you as a obedient dog? No, Sophia, she just was in a bad mood. Ethan's voice was choked with tears. I ignored him and pushed the door open. The private room hit me with a mix of heating, booze, and perfume. A table of well-dressed men and women were chatting and laughing. When they saw me, they went quiet for a moment, then burst into peals of laughter. Well, if it isn't Ethan, you actually came. Sister Sophia really knows how to handle her man. A slick-looking man clapped his hands. Such heavy rain, and you show up on a call. Brother-in-law, sit down, don't be shy. Called brother-in-law? I sneered inwardly. My gaze fell on Sophia, who was seated in the place of honor. Her makeup was immaculate, but her gaze was like tempered ice, sweeping over my dripping hair and disheveled appearance with undisguised contempt. What brother-in-law? Sophia snorted, her red lips just a bootlicker. You actually came because she told you to? Don't even look at what kind of person you are. Beside her, the white moonlight Alexander Stone spoke at the right moment, his voice as gentle as if mixed with honey. All right, Sophia, don't bully Ethan. It's pouring rain. Let him go home quickly. Getting sick from the cold would be awful. There was a smile at the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were full of condescending pity. Using me as a dog to walk. Still complain that I dirted their place? Another man, probably Sophia's lackey Ryan Miller, sneered, Alexander, you're just soft-hearted. What's there to fear? Didn't he come over for the money? Give him some cash and send him off. Alexander chuckled lightly, his gaze falling on me with a superiority that seemed to see through everything. You can't blame him. My family money is controlled by my dad. Ethan's expenses have to rely on his mother. His mom doesn't earn much either. A single offhand sentence pinned me to the pillar of shame of my family background. In the original, Ethan's mother was a parasite attached to the Stone family, so Ethan was naturally at the very bottom. Sophia seemed pleased. She pulled a small stack of bills from her expensive wallet, slapped them on the table, and pointed at an unopened bottle of Baijiu in front of her. Ethan, finish this bottle, and that's yours. How about it? I stood frozen, even taking half a step back, sizing her up with a new look of shock and absurdity. Sophia arched an eyebrow. What? Not enough. She probably thought this was a new trick Ethan was using to get her attention. I wiped the rain from my face, ignored her accusations, and walked straight to the empty seat across from her. With a clatter, I pulled out the chair and sat down steadily. My movements were crisp and decisive, carrying an unarguable force that instantly quelled the noisy private room. Sophia, I said. My voice was not loud, but it cut through the background music clearly. How do we put in black and white back then? You hired me to play the devoted bootlicker to boost your pathetic little charm value, right? A straightforward employer-employee relationship, no tricks. I paused, watching her face go pale bit by bit. But, Miss Taylor, how many months of salary have you been withholding from me? Fine, today counts as overtime. I held up one finger. I came in the rain to support your scene. Overtime pay, $100,000. Reasonable, isn't it? The private room was deathly silent. You could hear a pin drop. Ethan screamed in my head. Are you crazy? How can you say that about her? Apologize now. I sneered inwardly. If I don't say that, am I supposed to let her walk me around like a dog? Ethan, do you like being treated like a dog? Ethan was at a loss for words. I didn't give him a chance and turned my gaze to the bottle of white liquor. Drinking harms the body. Extra compensation. I held up two fingers, $50,000 friendly price. Finally, I looked at the sullen-faced Alexander Stone. And this Mr. Stone, his mouth is like it's been consecrated. Every sentence aimed straight at people's hearts. I endured his mental humiliation. Psychological damages are 88,000 US dollars. Fair enough. I reached for the stack of cash on the table, my fingers flying so fast they almost left after images, counting off with a swish. There, less than 20,000 US dollars? Miss Taylor, are you paying off a beggar? I tossed the money onto the table with a light clatter, full of sarcasm. Who begged me to help in the first place? Saying she had no charm since childhood, practically dying of insecurity? I pitied you and agreed. And what did you do? Burn the bridge behind you? Your character's fallen to pieces, hasn't it? Sophia trembled as she pointed at me, her voice shrill. What are you doing? Talking nonsense. It's obviously you who lowered yourself and came onto him. Oh, I laughed, speaking to Ethan in my head. Did you hear that? She says you lowered yourself. Ethan's voice sounded thin and ethereal. She was just so angry with you. Angry? Didn't she call you pathetic plenty of times before she got angry? I was merciless. Ethan, do you believe I can make her come crawling back to you within a week? Impossible. Don't rile her up anymore. She has a lot of pride. When you get back, you need to coach her properly, make her hangover soup, give her a foot soak with those sachets, listen to everything she says. Ethan began babbling again about his flatterer tips. I couldn't be bothered to listen and just stared at Sophia. So you made up your mind to renege? I stood up and looked around at the stunned elites. If the deal falls through, at least keep your integrity, but I have one piece of advice for everyone. Be careful dealing with this Miss Taylor. This girl, her character is unreliable. She doesn't pay her debts. I extended a finger and tapped Sophia's deathly pale forehead from a distance, articulating each word with force. Debts unpaid, credit ruined. Under the full-room glare of shock, scorn, and curiosity, Sophia completely collapsed. I turned and walked away. Stop right there. She lunged forward and grabbed my wrist, panic teetering on the edge of losing control. I glared at her coldly. What, you gonna hit me? Look at your skinny arms and legs. Think twice, or you'll be back crying that I'm bullying a woman. I shrugged off her hand and sneered. You said you weren't attractive back then, and I told you not to feel inferior. Now it turns out your self-assessment was pretty accurate. You're really not attractive. Low-class trash, let go. Sophia swayed as if about to collapse, her lips trembling. I didn't, you're lying. Alexander frowned and stood up. Ethan, what nonsense are you spouting? You were the one clinging to Sophia all along. After so many years, she hates you. Can't you see that? Huh, I sounded as if I'd heard the biggest joke. She clinging to me? Isn't it all to show off in front of you, Mr. Stone? She feels so inferior in front of you. Do you know why she always torments me? Because she says the vibe with you is lacking. She treats me as a role-playing prop, outwardly abusing me, but inwardly she wants to punish you. This woman is very dark inside. You better watch out. Shut up. Sophia's face flushed bright red. She suddenly grabbed the bottle on the table and smashed it on the floor, glass shards scattering with a piercing crunch, and she screamed hysterically. Get out. Get out of here. I slammed the door and walked out without looking back. But I didn't go back to the dorm. Instead, I went to Sophia's apartment, following the familiar route. She had given me a key before, so I could come over any time and work as her free servant. I took a long, hot shower and, without any hesitation, opened the expensive bottles and jars on Sophia's vanity, picked the priciest few, and gave myself a full skincare treatment. Then she sank comfortably into her soft sofa and closed her eyes to rest. The Ethan in my head was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. Sophia hates people touching her things. Hurry and fix it. Don't let her find out. I lazily waved my finger. She hates you touching her things. If Alexander touches them, she'd be begging for it. Weren't these things all ones you went out of your way to buy for her? What's wrong with me using them? Ethan was at a loss for words, choked, and could only continue murmuring. When she comes back, whatever you do, don't go against her again. Make it up to her. It wasn't long before the door clicked. Sophia was back. She obviously hadn't expected me to still be here. She froze for a moment, then fury instantly ignited. She grabbed the vase in the foyer and smashed it over. "Madman! Lunatic!" she yelled at me, pointing and cursing. "Who told you to sit on my sofa? Get up! Now! Immediately! Go explain this to Alexander." Phoenix. I didn't even lift an eyelid. "Just pay me. How much are you planning to offer?" Sophia's expression twisted instantly. "You still have the nerve to ask me for money?" I clapped my hands and sat up straight. "Hey, sorry, but my sense of entitlement is maxed out." "Do you know what a sense of entitlement means?" "It means I think all the good things in the world deserve me. I am precious. Want me to do things for you for free? In your next life." Sophia stared at me like I was a monster. After a long moment, as if she had suddenly understood something, she showed a self-satisfied look of enlightenment. "Ethan, I'm warning you. No matter what tricks you pull, I won't be interested in you. Put away that play hard to get routine." Ethan was shouting in my head too. "Enough. Quit while you're ahead. Don't really let her get the wrong idea." Snap! I snapped my fingers crisply, and with a magician's flick a playing card spun out from my fingertips. "Now that's a trick, understand?" I put the cards away, my gaze sharpening. What we were just discussing was business. "If you hire me to keep playing the bootlicker, how much are you willing to pay? Give me a straight price." Sophia went pale, probably because Ethan's long years of groveling had become too deeply ingrained. She bit her lip and repeated through gritted teeth, "No matter what you do, I will never take a liking to you. I'll only hate you more. My time is valuable." I stood up and looked down at her from above. "One sentence. Deal or part ways. I don't have time to hang around here with you." Sophia's temper flared up too. "Then just get out. I'll bet you'll end up coming back, crying to beg me." "Sure thing." I turned away with flair and walked off cleanly and decisively. The next afternoon, at the school cafe, I hadn't been seated long when Sophia burst in like a bomb with its fuse lit. Her eyes were rimmed with red, her hair a little disheveled, completely devoid of her usual refinement. She marched straight up to my seat and shoved her phone screen hard in front of my face. "Ethan, did you do this?" Her voice had a sob in it, trembling badly. "Those things on the campus forum. Delete them right now." I leisurely picked up the iced Americano on the table and took a sip, then finally looked up at her phone screen. The latest pinned post on the school's anonymous forum had a striking title. A certain classmate surnamed Sophia hired people to be her simp and even owes wages. Questionable character. Everyone steer clear. The post vividly described the spectacle of last night's dinner, especially emphasizing how she bossed people around, insulted them with money, and finally flew into an embarrassed, furious rage. The details were so thorough it felt like a live recording. The comments section exploded, full of all kinds of nasty remarks. Someone even dug up her background as an illegitimate daughter. "Oh, that?" I said, setting my cup down, my tone as neutral as if discussing the weather. "I saw it." People are commenting pretty enthusiastically. I even scrolled down the feed a few more times with some interest. TSK, the insults are brutal. Looks like the public's eyes are sharp. "You." Sophia trembled with anger at my indifferent attitude, tears finally slipping down uncontrollably. She forced herself not to cry out, but that pear blossom with rain look, vulnerable and furious, was somehow more pleasant to see than her usual haughty, biting face. Even Ethan, who had been nagging in my head, suddenly fell silent, probably stunned by the scene. "Why are you crying?" I pulled out a tissue and handed it over, only for her to slap it away. "Say what you have to say. Don't be all teary-eyed." "Delete it." She slammed her hand down on the table, drawing a few curious glances. "Which eye of yours saw that I hired you? And what's with classmate Gunan? Who else besides you would write something like that? That's not necessarily true." I leaned back in the chair, watching her at my leisure. I wasn't the only one in the private room last night. You know how some people at our school are? Their tongues are looser than my grandma's 30-year-old cotton trousers. One moment they hear something, the next they're adding fuel and spice and spreading it all over campus. What good does yelling at me do? I picked up my phone again and casually scrolled through the nasty comments. Oh wow, even your high school classmates got involved? Those insults are really filthy. Sophia's face went completely white. Her family situation was complicated. Her biological parents were unreliable, and she was deeply love-starved, hypersensitive, and insecure. Ethan's previous bottomless fawning, although outwardly scorned by her, was essentially also an important source of her sense of security and superiority. Now, I tore that fig leaf to shreds in public. The fake halo she relied on to survive is collapsing. She can't stand this public execution. What exactly will you do to make me delete it? To explain it clearly, her voice was hoarse with despair, almost pleading. At worst, I'll admit you're my official boyfriend, okay? The Ethan in my mind instantly grew excited, the wave of consciousness surging. Hurry and agree to her. Hurry and agree. I looked at Sophia's face, written over with humiliation and calculation, and suddenly felt an overwhelming disgust. I picked up the cup of coffee on the table. Only sipped once, and still scalding. Flicked my wrist. Splash. The deep brown liquid hit her, soaking her head and face. Ah! Sophia screamed, jumping back in distress. The expensive dress was instantly stained with large splotches, her carefully styled curls plastered to her temples, coffee dripping down. The surroundings fell silent in an instant. Then suppressed gasps and whispers rose. Someone recognized her as the heroine from the campus forum and quietly lifted their phone. Who would bother being the boyfriend of someone like you? My voice was as cold as ice, cutting clearly through the cafe's background music. Do you even deserve it? Ethan was completely stunned in my mind. Yeah. Sophia scrambled to wipe her face with a napkin, trembling all over with a mixture of fury and shame, pointing at me. You bastard. So what do you want? I stood up, leisurely straightened my cuffs, and looked down at her face smeared with coffee, tears, and a twisted expression. Same as I said. You pay. I do the job. Service fee, clearly priced. I paused, a mean curve forming at the corner of my mouth. Miss Taylor, how much is that thick skin of yours and your shabby, teetering reputation worth? Figure out yourself. When you've decided, come back with some sincerity. For now, please move. You're blocking my fresh air. I walked around her, still frozen in shock, and under countless complicated gazes, held my head high and left the cafe. Behind me came Sophia's uncontrollable breakdown sobs. The campus forum quickly updated with on-site photos. Flattering actor fails to collect pay, furiously throws coffee on deadbeat. This time it really wasn't me who posted it. Contemporary college students' enthusiasm for gossip and willingness to act truly exceed imagination. When Sophia came to see me a second time, we met in a private room at a tea house near the school. She was noticeably more subdued, pale, eyes darting, and the domineering air she once carried had mostly dissipated. How much do you want? She asked bluntly, her voice dry, carrying a resigned weariness. I didn't answer. My fingertips tapped lightly on the smooth mahogany table, making a steady click as if counting her down. The private room was so quiet you could hear her slightly hurried breathing. The silence crushed her until she couldn't breathe. Gritting her teeth, she spit out a number. $1,500,000 US. Cash plus transfer. No more. That's my bottom line. I raised an eyebrow and finally spoke. Deal. Her tone was so curt it left her momentarily stunned. $1,500,000 US. I'll go explain it all to Alexander. Say that I loved you, but couldn't have you. That love turned to hate, so I deliberately smeared you. How's that? Your white moonlight and his love? Worth that price, right? Jay just explained it to him alone. Sophia clearly felt the deal wasn't in her favor and tried to negotiate for more. I made a show of standing up. No? Fine, then forget it. It's a free market. I made as if to walk away. Wait. Sophia immediately panicked, grabbed my arm, and pulled a card from her bag, pushing it toward me. I sat back down slowly again but pushed the card back. Keep the card. Transfer the money. Now. I gave my bank account number. Amount: $1,314,520. Transfer note: Ethan, I love you forever. Voluntary gift, second anniversary present. Seeing her face go pale in an instant, I added, the rest withdraw in cash from the bank and give it to me. The muscles in Sophia's face were twitching, her eyes full of humiliation and struggle, but in the end she slumped her shoulders despondently. Fine. Ethan watched the whole thing, eyes wide in my mind. Are you blackmailing her? How can you do that? Blackmail? I snorted inwardly. She could trample on you with a clear conscience for so many years. Why can't I make her pay the proper price for her actions? She treats you badly only because you cling to her without any dignity, which makes her think you're pathetic and unworthy. See, as soon as I told her don't expect a free ride, she understood that if she wants me to do something, she has to pay. Ethan, if you keep licking her boots to death, she'll never learn this. Ethan wanted to argue, but looking at the 7-figure notification that had just popped up on the phone, and then it's Sophia's resigned back as she went out to get the cash, all his words got stuck in his throat. After a long while, he weakly said, "Don't waste this money. Her birthday is coming up." I ignored him, flipped open the shopping app, and emptied my wish list. The new gaming laptop, limited edition sneakers, professional camera lens that have been sitting there for ages. One click to pay, movement smooth and effortless. Ethan exclaimed in his head. Why are you buying so much stuff? I earned this money myself. I'll spend it however I want. I cheerfully booked a top-tier spa. If you like being the sucker, that's your business. Now, this body is mine to take care of, and I won't let myself be wronged in the slightest. That night, I was lying on the spa bed, enjoying an essential oil back massage, when Sophia called again. The background was the clatter typical of a Japanese restaurant and the smell of sake. Ethan, Alexander, and I are at take. You come over now. Her tone still carried a faint residue of a barely noticeable command, but she quickly added, There's something. I kept my eyes closed, feeling the therapist's pressure just right, and lazily asked, How much is the appearance fee? AP appearance fee? Sophia clearly didn't follow the rhythm. The money we gave you last time was for you to explain things to Alexander. I'm asking you to come over now because the money last time was to buy out my explanation services regarding Alexander. I cut her off, my voice edged with irritation at being disturbed. You want me to give up a nice massage in the middle of the night, go out into the cold to meet you? Do you think the calluses on my soles don't hurt? Am I your servant who comes when summoned and is dismissed at will? Pay for the service, that's only right. No pay, no talk. Sophia choked on the other end. I could hear her suppressed, heavy breathing. After a few seconds, she ground out, I'll give you $50,000. Now, immediately. Come over. I scoffed. What time is it now? You want me to fly over? Time on the road isn't free. By the time I get there, the dorms will definitely be locked. Do you want me to sleep under the overpass? Fine. $50,000 one way, $60,000 round trip. Pay now. Hotel for the night will be reimbursed separately. Not reimbursed. No deal. Do as you wish. Saying that, I didn't give her a chance to bargain and hung up. 2 minutes later, my phone banking app chimed. $110,000 has been transferred. This time she behaved. The note clearly read, Voluntary gift, taxi, and lodging fees. I got up slowly, told the disappointed-looking technician I'd come back next time, changed clothes, and took a cab to the address Sophia had given. In the private room, Sophia and Alexander were sitting on the tatami, and the atmosphere was a little awkward. I walked straight over and looked down at Alexander from above. Oh, you two are eating sushi? Why wasn't I told? Don't you look down on me? Alexander's gentle, jade-like face instantly fell. His mouth, smeared as if with honey, said, Ethan, you stupid idiot. What are you doing running over here? Gone crazy from poverty? Selling your dignity for money? Aren't you her hired sycophant? Mind your own business when we're eating, got it? Without a word, I raised my hand and gave Sophia a not too hard, not too soft slap on the back of the head, producing a crisp smack. Sophia was struck forward, clutching her head, looking dazed. Hey, tell him, I nodded towards Sophia. What's our relationship right now? Sophia was probably stunned by my filming, or maybe provoked by Alexander's line of paid bootlicker. She nodded reflexively. All right, that's it. I don't have feelings for you, love, unrequited, wanting to seize by force. That's the relationship. She babbled, repeating the script I had set up earlier. Alexander looked suspicious. Then why did you say earlier that she paid you to hire you? Tisich, I said impatiently, what's wrong? That's how we losers who pull the comeback act. If you can't have it, you slander it. Don't like you, so I casually give you some trouble. What's wrong with that? Didn't you believe it that day? One less competitor. Isn't that great? Alexander was left speechless by my skewed logic. He glanced at me and then at Sophia, who looked guilty and bewildered and couldn't regain that previously all-consuming sense of superiority no matter what. He turned to Sophia, his tone a little irritable. Sophia, I don't like him. Don't let him appear in front of me and bother me from now on. Sophia, like a broken record, said, Did you hear that? From now on, don't bother me anymore. I immediately slipped into character professionally, staring at her with a deep and obsessive look. In your dreams, Sophia, even as a ghost, I won't let you off. After saying that, I turned away gracefully and walked off without looking back, heading straight for the most expensive 5-star hotel nearby to book a room. In the middle of the night, the phone screen suddenly lit up in the dark. It was Sophia calling. I answered, put it on speaker, and said nothing. On the other end came suppressed sobbing and heavy sniffling. After a long while, she spoke with a kind of fragility I had never heard from her before. Ethan, what are you doing? The Ethan in my head immediately became so excited he babbled. She reached out to me first. She spoke to me in that tone for the first time. Does she want to confide in me? I faced the microphone, my tone completely flat. What, Mr. Stone doesn't fancy you again, and you can't bear it, so you have no one to complain to and think of using me as your emotional trash can? When something good happens, why don't I see you wanting to share with me? Do I owe you? There was a few seconds of silence on the other end of the line. Then Sophia's voice came through with a heavy nasal tone, but unusually clear. I'll give you the money. Ethan gasped in my head, his thoughts wavering wildly. She actually offered to pay? Is this still Sophia? This time Sophia was predictably cooperative. The transfer arrived instantly, and she hadn't forgotten the note. Voluntary gift, call fee. Having received the money, my tone softened by 1%. All right, what do you want to say? I'm listening. Sophia seemed to finally find an outlet and began to babble about those events I already knew. As an illegitimate child, she watched the legitimate wife bring people to their home and beat her timid mother. After moving into her biological father's house, she was ostracized by all the children her age. Only Alexander then stepped up and said a word for her, becoming the sole light in her gloomy world. She talked for a long time, her voice choking at times, numb at others. I said nothing, listening quietly. In my mind, Ethan's emotions shifted from excitement at first to overwhelming sadness later, and finally he too began to weep silently. When the long confession ended, Sophia sighed lengthily and wearily, her tone carrying a grudging concession. Ethan, I know you've been causing so much trouble recently because you're angry that I've neglected you for so long, treated you like a tool. She paused, as if choosing her words. I've been thinking, actually, you've been pretty good to me. Maybe we could try, give you a chance. Say yes to her. Tell her you'll do it. Ethan shouted urgently in my head. I sat up, opened the bottled water on the bedside table, took a measured sip, and cleared my throat. Then, into the phone's microphone. In a voice impossibly clear, scornful, and cutting, I said, Sophia, who do you think you are, daring to make me take over? Do you take me for trash? Sophia was completely stunned by my picking up trash remark. On the other end of the line, there was only heavy, broken panting, like an old bellows. After a few seconds, she erupted into a sharp howl. Ethan, have you no shame? You're the one with no shame, aren't you? I sneered, my voice like a blade tempered with ice. Sophia, take a look at yourself. From head to toe, what makes you worthy of my Ethan's affection? You're grown, and you don't even wash your socks. You flunked 4 subjects last semester and have to retake them. You get winded running 800 meters like a dog. You're rotten in moral, intellectual, physical, aesthetic, and labor education across the board. What makes you think I'd pick up someone like you? Huh? Then weren't you the one who's been acting like my bootlicker all this time? She screamed hysterically, trying to use the past to prove her worth. I snorted, my voice calm but carrying a deadly chill. Yeah, so now even I, the bootlicker, don't want you anymore. Sophia, you're completely finished. I don't want you. There was dead silence on the other end of the line. Sophia seemed as if her throat had been grabbed. Ethan in my mind went utterly dumb, his consciousness blank. After a full half-minute, I heard Sophia ask in a near-somnambulant voice, filled with immense fear and uncertainty, "Ethan, you really think that of me?" Only now did Ethan find his voice, shouting in my mind, "No, that's not what I mean. Sophia, listen to me." But I didn't give him a chance. Mercilessly, word by word into the microphone, as if reading a verdict. "Sophia, you know better than anyone how worthless you are, right? If you really were as great as you think, why does Alexander keep you on a string and refuse to commit? Isn't it because he thinks you can't be shown in public? You're lying. His family is strict." Sophia's voice snapped sharply, as if you'd touched the deepest wound, trying to grab at a last straw. "Oh," I raised my tone, thick with mockery. "His family is strict? So what? You're the dump that takes his unwanted trash. Sophia, wake up." In Alexander's eyes, you're no different from me. The simp he looks down on. Fundamentally the same. Things he can toy with at will. "Ethan," Sophia completely lost it, her voice warped and distorted. "Who do you think you are? You used to lick my boots like crazy, didn't you, because my family's rich? Always pretending to be some gentle, warm guy. Disgusting. Every time I see you acting all clingy and pathetic, I want to slap you across the face. If you hadn't stuck to me like a leech, do you think I would have paid you any attention? Average-looking, boring personality, clumsy at everything. I'd be ashamed to be seen with you." I burst out laughing. The sound was particularly jarring in the quiet hotel room. "Ah, I didn't pay attention to you? Then why did you call me in the middle of the night, crying that Alexander was hanging you along? Saying give me a chance to try? Now that you can't take the fall, you're humiliated and starting to attack me personally? Fine, I'll teach you what real personal attacks look like." I cleared my throat and, in the clearest, nastiest, most cutting tone I could muster, said, "Sophia, listen carefully. Don't post those 800 times retouched selfies to your moments anymore. No one thinks you're some unreachable rich beauty. Want to know why? Because every photo of yours reeks of that persistent, cheap nightclub princess vibe. The kind that's the cheapest, waiting for customers to order a fruit platter. With the way you are, if you even touch my fruit platter, I'll smash your head in. Ethan, you bastard." Hysterical screams came from the other end of the line, followed by the sound of something shattering. I didn't wait for her to say anything else. I decisively hung up, powered off my phone, and the world instantly became quiet. The room was left with only the low hum of the air conditioner. I thought Ethan would be angry, would question me about why I would hurt the person he loved like this. But he didn't. I felt a weariness in my mind like never before, as if all my strength had been drained away. "So, she's always seen me like this?" Ethan's voice was light and hollow, filled with a vast emptiness and self-doubt. Am I really that hateful? Even my mom said that. Something prickled my heart, as if something had lightly stabbed it. I sighed and slowed my voice. "Are you stupid? You take a bitch's words to heart? Your mom?" To curry favor with her rich husband from her second marriage who brought a kid, Alexander, she'd even use her own son as a stepping stone. Do you trust what she says? Ethan was silent for a long time, so long I thought he had retreated again. Then, without any warning, he let out a wah and began to wail in my head. That wasn't grievance, but a floodgate breaking of grievances, inferiority, an unrecognized pain accumulated for over 10 years. In that moment, it all burst. A 20-year-old man's cry, suppressed to the extreme, was full of despair and self-loathing. I know. I've always known. Everyone looks down on me. Everything I do is wrong. I can't do anything right. Only when his crying had dwindled to stifled hiccups did I slowly speak, my voice calmer than ever. Ethan, do you know what your biggest problem is? I know. I'm too stupid. I can't do anything well. I always embarrass the people around me. He said, giving himself up to despair. Wrong. I interrupted him decisively. Your biggest problem is that you always look for the reason in yourself. It's obvious your mother, to please that rich husband and the son he brought, dared not be nice to you, even actively suppressed and belittled you to make herself look magnanimous and fair. How could you take her bullshit seriously? I picked up my phone and my fingers swiped quickly. The light from the screen lit my face. I found a nearly forgotten video link in an old thread on the school forum. I tapped it open. A mellow piano melody flowed out. The video quality was grainy, but the boy in the center of the frame wore a clean white shirt, was thin in build, and held his back perfectly straight. Under the spotlight, he lowered his eyelids, his long fingers dancing across the black and white keys, his expression focused and calm. The eyes caught by the camera seemed filled with tiny fragments of starlight, sparkling brightly. See? I pointed my phone screen at the crying soul deep inside his consciousness. Second-year middle school's anniversary gala. You played Nocturne. How many people applauded you? How many girls stared at you with wide eyes? Remember what happened afterward? Ethan's sobs stopped. His consciousness stared blankly at the glowing version of himself on the screen. I said coldly, Alexander was jealous that you stole the limelight. The senior girl he liked handed you a love letter. He sulked at home for days. Then your mom, I emphasized, to cheer him up, to show her fairness. Stop your piano lessons after 7 or 8 years. She sold your second-hand piano, all because Alexander said he also wanted to learn, and the house was too small to fit 2 pianos. I opened Ethan's long-dormant social account again and came across an even earlier photo. In the sunlight, a boy in a school uniform held a stack of books at the school gate, his smile dazzling and blinding, his eyes clean and full of expectation for the future. That was his selfie at 15. That photo caused a bit of a stir on the campus forum back then. Someone called you the oxygen male god. And what happened? Alexander got jealous again, ran to tattle to your mom, spread rumors that you were dating early and it was affecting your studies. And your mom? I sneered. Immediately cut off your allowance, even made you write a self-criticism. Finally, I opened Ethan's mother's latest moments post. In the photo, Alexander is wearing a well-tailored bespoke suit, his smile appropriate, the Cartier watch on his wrist gleaming. And Ethan, dressed in an obviously ill-fitting tracksuit that looks like it was grabbed at random, stands awkwardly at the very edge, his expression tense and his eyes dull, like a pearl covered in dust. Look at them now. I put the 3 images together. Ethan, tell me, do you still think Sophia and your mother's assessment of you is true? Are you really that useless? The Ethan in my mind was silent for a long time. I seemed to see him curled up in that cold, little dark room deep in his consciousness, his reddened eyes fixed on these scenes as the fragments of his past, deliberately forgotten and forcibly twisted, reassembled with tremendous force. Should it not be? After a long pause, he answered in a voice so light it was almost inaudible, full of huge uncertainty, but the sheet of self-loathing ice seemed to have developed a crack. I knew the gears of change had finally begun to turn. After that day, Ethan no longer stopped me from spending money. He even began to cautiously discuss things with me. Does this coat suit me better than that jacket I had before? The hairstylist said getting a textured perm might look more energetic. I signed up for an expensive personal trainer, and when I slacked off and didn't want to go, he actually started to quietly nag in my head. You've already paid. It'd be a waste not to go. Gradually, I felt Ethan's control over this body subtly increase. Sometimes when I zoned out, he would unconsciously adjust my sitting posture. When scrolling videos, he couldn't help but comment on someone's outfit. But he always lacked confidence and kept saying, "You decide, your taste is better than mine." I snapped, "This is your body, your life. Do you think this is like hiring a booster in a game? No matter how strong the booster is, if the account owner doesn't learn to play, isn't it just useless in the end?" I signed him up for a top-tier adult crash course in piano and threw him the address. Address sent, 3 o'clock this afternoon. Get your butt to class. No refunds. Sitting back on the piano bench, Ethan's consciousness visibly stirred when his fingers touched the cool, smooth keys. As awkward but determinately cohesive notes flowed from his fingertips, the teacher raised an eyebrow in surprise. "Young man, you have a great foundation. It's a shame you let it go for so many years, but it's not too late to pick it up now." I was about to comfort him about the lost years when I heard Ethan, through this body's throat, with a barely noticeable tremor and a huge sense of relief, say clearly to the teacher, "Not a shame. Teacher, it's never too late to start." In front of the mirror, his face, thinner by a notch, was lit by sunlight leaking in from the window, and in those eyes that had once been dim, a faint but determined spark finally reappeared. My plan also entered its proper track. I registered a short video account to share the male college students' comeback daily. The vlogs ranged widely: sweaty gym check-ins, clips of relearning the piano, focused hours in the library, and the occasional share of outfit tips and everyday rants. Unexpectedly, the account actually got a bit popular. It was probably because Ethan's transformation from a pathetic simp to someone striving to shine was so captivating, coupled with the composed aura he had when playing the piano, that he quickly drew a small group of fans. Advertising DMs began to appear. With income coming in, I used the money to explore the city, look for material, and document the process of spending to improve myself, then earn more money, creating a virtuous cycle. Watching the steadily growing balance in the account, Ethan was both excited and a little panicked. "You, how are you so good at this? You can actually make money from this." "Impressive." I pointed to a comment and showed it to him. "This one, when he plays the piano, his eyes light up. The way he focuses totally melts me. And this one, from gloomy to sunny, that transformation is so real. I'm following. What everyone loves is you. It's the drive you had when you picked up the piano again. It's your own change." I deliberately put on a stern face. "Besides, when I'm too lazy to edit the videos, aren't you the one who does it? You also contributed the script ideas. Why do you only praise me and not yourself?" Ethan was left speechless. After a long while, I finally heard him mutter very quietly, with a bit of bashfulness and disbelief, "Maybe I'm kind of impressive too." I was drinking a Coke with my head thrown back at the time, when I heard that I went pfft, and the bubbles sprayed all over the table. "Ha ha ha." I laughed until tears nearly came. "Ethan, did the water finally drain out of your brain? That intelligence is starting to take the high ground." Ethan, but a small trace of pride quietly surfaced in his mind. That day, Alexander's call came without warning. The background noise was loud. His tone was, as always, carrying a condescending sense of superiority. "Ethan, my birthday is next Wednesday. I'm having a party at the Cloud Peak Villa. My parents are coming. You should come too." In the original, this birthday banquet is Ethan's ultimate battlefield. Thrown out of the car halfway, forced to serve as a servant grilling meat for a house full of people, mocked by Alexander until his nostrils were blackened, smoothed over by his stepfather, scolded as an embarrassment by his own mother, and finally sent packing by Sophia with $100. Utterly tragic. "Fine." I agreed unusually briskly. Before Alexander could say anything more, I hung up. "Going?" Ethan asked, his tone calm, even with a hint of eager anticipation. "Of course," I said with a sinister smile. "If I don't go, how will I help you slap that slapback? How will your mom and Alexander know why the flower is so red?" Ethan was silent for a moment. Then I clearly heard from deep in his consciousness a low, please chuckle. Then I'll trouble you. It's perfect. I can also learn how to insult people. Me? Well. The male lead in this angst FIC has undergone a complete makeover into a cunning, venom-tongue type. This darkening. No, rather, this evolution is terrifyingly fast. On Alexander's birthday, I, now in Ethan's body, but in control, appeared at the meeting spot under the dormitory at the agreed time. When Alexander saw me, his expression froze instantly. He was wearing carefully matched trendy brands and had his hair deliberately styled. But beside my sharply tailored, high-quality black coat and the shiny handcrafted leather shoes on my feet, the refined look he wore was instantly reduced to pretentious. His gaze swept over me several times with complicated emotion. His lips pressed into a straight line, and he unconsciously reached up to adjust a collar and hairstyle that were actually perfect. The junior girl beside him, the one who recognized me at the cafe last time, brightened at the sight of me and immediately came over. "Senior Ethan, you look so handsome today." A few other girls beside her also shot admiring looks. Alexander's face darkened further. His knuckles whitened around his phone as he couldn't help but speak, his voice edged with sourness and inquiry. "Ethan, where did you get the money to put together that outfit? You didn't do something shameful, did you?" I didn't say anything. The junior beside me excitedly flipped to my account page. "Senior Alexander, didn't you know? Senior Ethan is a big influencer now. Hundreds of thousands of followers. He even took an ad for some big brand. Oh my God, your brother is amazing." Alexander looked at the daily posts, ads, and the steadily rising follower count and engagement I'd been sharing on the screen. The expression on his face was worse than crying. He forced out a fake smile. "Oh, really, that's good." At that moment, his eyes brightened. As if he'd seen a savior, he waved toward the distance. "Sophia, over here." Alexander shot me a smug glance, waiting to see me, like before, pounce on Sophia like a dog smelling meat. He even reached out his arm in advance, ready to naturally drape it over Sophia's shoulder as she approached to show possession. Sophia arrived. She had also dressed up carefully today. Alexander, as he wished, placed his hand on her shoulder. Sophia's body stiffened slightly. Seeing Alexander's hand on her shoulder, two suspicious flushes rose on her face, and she nodded in delighted surprise. Then she saw me. Her feet froze in place, her eyes suddenly widening as she stared at me, as if meeting this person for the first time. The flush on her face quickly faded, replaced by a mixture of shock, bewilderment, and an indescribably complex emotion. Alexander squeezed Sophia's shoulder hard. She snapped back to her senses, instinctively trying to pull away from his hand, but not quite breaking free. Her gaze flickered, then she forced on a disdainful expression, trying to regain control. "Ethan, it's Alexander's birthday. Why are you dressed up so handsomely?" Trying to steal his spotlight. I raised an eyebrow in puzzlement, my tone innocent with a hint of entitlement. "I dress like this every day. What? Do you think I look really handsome like this?" "Well, I'll take that as a compliment. Thanks." Sophia, her face flushed crimson in an instant. Alexander's expression turned even darker. Sophia's words were like pouring fuel on the fire, blatantly saying I was more handsome than Alexander. She clenched her molars, took out a neatly wrapped gift box, and shoved it at Alexander. "Alexander, happy birthday." I smiled and handed over the gift bag I had prepared, calm in my tone. "Happy birthday, Alexander." Alexander took it with a sour expression. When everyone had arrived, sure enough there was one more person. The Yunding villa was some distance from the city. Alexander put on a hard act and looked at me. "Ethan, see, there's an extra friend. The car won't fit. Sorry to trouble you. Take a taxi there yourself, okay?" He was waiting to see me, like before, sensible and humble, saying it's okay. I leisurely took a car, key out of my trench coat pocket, and shook it in front of Alexander. The four-ring emblem on the key glinted in the sunlight. "No need, I'll drive." Alexander's expression froze completely, as if struck by lightning. "You bought a car. Wow. Senior, you drive yourself? The junior from before was excited again. Senior, can I ride in your car? I get carsick. Of course. I smiled and nodded, unlocked a brand new Audi A6L parked to the curb. Don't worry, I drive very steadily. I didn't even look at Alexander and Sophia's expressions. I simply opened the car door and let the junior sister get in. She excitedly pulled another girl into my back seat. The engine started and smoothly merged into traffic. In the garden of the Yunding villa, the coals on the barbecue crackled, and the aroma of food mingled with the scent of expensive perfume. The atmosphere turned a bit strange after the blow-up between me, now led by Ethan. I'm more like an onlooker and advisor, and Victoria Johnson, Ethan's mother. Alexander's father, Robert Stone, frowned, clearly finding the scene embarrassing. Alexander, however, was ashen-faced, glaring at me with hatred. The carefully prepared birthday banquet had been ruined. Victoria was exposed by my line, using your own son as a stepping stone, her face turning from red to white, her lips trembling. In the end, she said nothing, covered her face, and at Robert's slightly impatient gesture stumbled into the villa. Robert barely maintained his hostly demeanor, urging everyone to continue eating and drinking, but the atmosphere had cooled. Alexander forced a smile and began to open the gift. When he received my neatly wrapped box, his expression was complicated with a faint, barely perceptible nervousness. He carefully unwrapped it to find a shirt of good quality. His face cleared a bit, and just as he was about to offer a perfunctory thanks, his fingertip brushed a small, dried, hardened pale yellow spot on the inside of the collar. He picked it up suspiciously and brought it close to his nose to sniff. A faint scent mixed with hot pot beef tallow and chili drifted into his nostrils. Ethan, Alexander threw the shirt back into the box as if burned, his voice sharp and piercing. What the hell do you mean? Giving me the dirty clothes you wore as a birthday present? Have you gone mad for being poor? Everyone's gazes focused back again. Victoria had somehow reappeared at the doorway. She was probably trembling with anger, feeling that her son had brought her great shame. Ethan, is this how I taught you? You can make money now, and you can't even bear to give your brother a new piece of clothing? How embarrassing and disgraceful. I looked at Victoria's face, written over with resentment and shame, and suddenly found it unbearably ironic. I tugged at the corner of my mouth and, in a tone so calm it bordered on cruel, retorted, Mom, I remember on my 17th birthday, you gave me a shirt Alexander had worn a few times and didn't bother returning because the collar made him uncomfortable, didn't you? My gaze swept over Victoria, whose face had gone instantly pale, and the equally frozen Alexander. What did you say back then? All right, it's yours now, just wear it. I paused, looking at the shaking Victoria, my voice unmistakably clear. What? With you? It's only natural for a biological son to get his stepson's old clothes for his birthday. But when it's stepson Alexander who receives a new shirt that happens to smell a bit of hot pot, it's embarrassing and shameful. Your double standard is pretty slick. How can you compare them? Today is Alexander's birthday. Victoria clutched at a lifeline, her voice sharp. Oh, I raised an eyebrow, my tone full of incredulity. Isn't it all just birthday celebrations? Alexander, on the other hand, gets buried in gifts every year. Me? Has he ever even given me a single card? Mom, your favoritism is really something. You. Victoria was so angry she was shaking all over, her pointing finger trembling. You came here just to cause trouble, deliberately making things hard for Alexander. At that moment, Sophia, who had been silent until now, suddenly stood up. She looked at Alexander, then at me, and finally her gaze settled on Victoria, her face bearing a mix of anger and sorrow. She took a deep breath, as if she had finally made up her mind. Enough. Everyone's eyes turned to her. Sophia ignored Victoria and walked straight up to Alexander, her gaze sharp as a knife. Alexander, I'll ask you, what do you like about me? Alexander was stunned by her question, instinctively avoiding her too direct stare, and mumbled, kindness? Gentleness? Sophia, Now's not the time to talk about this. Kindness. Sophia snorted, her voice suddenly rising, carrying long-suppressed resentment. Alexander, were you pretending to be? Back in school, who was the one spreading rumors behind my back that I was a love child and of dubious origin, leading everyone to ostracize me? And who was it that hypocritically stepped forward to help me with a few words, making me foolishly think I'd found a light and loyally followed you all these years? Alexander's face changed abruptly. Sophia, who told you that? Who told me? Sophia cut him off, eyes blazing with fury. She suddenly pointed at me. It was him. It was Ethan, who has always followed me silently and been mocked by all of you as a bootlicker. When everyone ignored me, he was the one secretly slipping hot milk into my desk. When I was locked in the equipment room, he climbed in through the window to save me. And you, Alexander, for the sake of your pathetic possessiveness and sense of superiority, stabbed me in the back while pretending to be the good guy. The one who truly helped me from beginning to end has always been him. She shouted it all in one breath, her chest heaving violently. Her eyes were reddened as she looked at me, her voice trembling with tears and a belated, overwhelming remorse. Ethan, I'm sorry. I was blind all these years. The whole garden fell, deathly silent. Alexander's face went deathly white, his lips trembling, not a single word able to pass his mouth. Robert's expression was so sullen it seemed to drip. Victoria stood frozen on the spot, as if seeing the world for the first time. Ethan's consciousness surged violently in my mind. Shock, sorrow, but more than that, a kind of resignation, like dust finally settling. He whispered to me, "Let me." The last few lines, I'll say them myself. I immediately handed full control of my body back to him. Ethan, now the real Ethan, didn't look at the hysterical Sophia anymore, nor at the ashen-faced Alexander or the resentful Victoria. He picked up the untouched glass of freshly squeezed orange juice beside him, tilted his head back, and drank it all in one go. Then he set the glass down, movements unhurried, spine straight, his gaze calmly sweeping over everyone present. That look was no longer the former timidity, people-pleasing, or gloom, but a clarity and detachment that came after shedding all pretenses. I have a phobia of large things, he said, his voice low but clear to every ear, carrying a strange, cold sense of humor. Especially big assholes. He nodded slightly, like an actor taking a final bow. Please, enjoy the meal. I'll be going ahead. Having said that, he turned. The hem of his black trench coat drew a crisp arc in the cool evening breeze as he walked steadily through the quiet garden toward the villa's front gate. Without a trace of hesitation, and without glancing back at the battlefield that had once trapped his entire youth and had now completely collapsed, Ethan drove the car, the city's neon streaming past the windows like a river of color. The interior was very quiet, only the low hum of the engine. How did I do just now? Ethan's voice rang in my head, carrying a faint, barely noticeable nervousness and a little anticipation. I couldn't help laughing and applauding vigorously, even though he had no physical body. Remove the highest score, remove the lowest score, average score, 10. I'll allow you to be proud for 3 minutes. Ethan chuckled softly too, a small, genuine pleasure rippling through his consciousness. But quickly he asked again, "Are you leaving soon?" I was silent for a moment. Your wings have hardened. You can fly now, so this proxy player of mine should retire." Ethan didn't say anything, but I could feel a strong mix of reluctance and gratitude spreading deep in his consciousness. The car drove smoothly toward his apartment. The days that followed felt like someone had pressed the accelerator. Victoria had completely made a name for herself. Ethan removed identifying details from the birthday party conflict and, combining it with her past sleazy moves, made a video about toxic birth families. The video blew up. Victoria was dissected by netizens and left with no reputation. She became synonymous with a sell your child for advantage gold-digging mom. Robert thought she was shameful and quickly divorced her. She left the marriage with almost nothing. She came to Ethan like a madwoman, wailing and raging, accusing him of being unfilial. Ethan calmly replied through the door, "The maintenance obligations to be fulfilled will wait for the court's decision. Whatever they award, I'll pay that much. As for everything else, no discussion." Outside the door, Victoria was collapsing into howls and curses. Ethan took out his phone and coolly recorded an audio of her tantrum. Fresh material for another episode, earning him plenty of views and advertising revenue. Alexander? He became a laughingstock in their circle. Someone somehow leaked the birthday party incident, and the label hypocritical bully stuck to him fast. He met a true love, pretty girl at a bar and fell head over heels, only to be set up, rack up huge gambling debts, almost become an unwitting father, and in the end, Robert begrudgingly cleaned up his mess, leaving him so furious he was hospitalized twice. As for Sophia, lost sister became her online epithet. Her social death was complete. She was still chasing her husband, trying to use tears and deep affection to win him back. But the Ethan of now was no longer the bootlick who answered whenever called. The last time, when Sophia blocked him under his apartment building, sobbing that she knew she was wrong and begging him for another chance. Ethan looked at her tear-streaked face without expression. Then, to her astonished gaze, he raised his hand. Slap! A sharp, crisp slap landed squarely on Sophia's face. Sophia, Ethan's voice was icy, without a trace of emotion. You're finished. Don't ever come to me again. He turned and walked into the apartment building, swiped his card, closed the door, a single smooth motion, completely cutting off that face full of astonishment, shame, and despair. Quick and decisive, with not a hint of lingering hesitation. I know it's time. The day I left, the weather was beautiful. Ethan stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows of his newly rented, sun-filled apartment, watching the bustling traffic below. He had just finished editing a new video about an amateur piano competition he had signed up for again. Is there still a chance to see you again? He asked softly, a faint, barely noticeable wistfulness in his voice. There shouldn't be any left. My consciousness began to recede like a tide. You're no longer that abused novel male, lead who needs others' help to turn things around. Ethan, you did very well. Ethan was silent for a moment, then slowly and deliberately opened his arms and made a motion as if to hug himself. Sunlight fell on him, outlining a tall and resolute silhouette. Then goodbye. His voice was soft, yet carried sincere well wishes. I hope you're happy, that you find happiness, and that everything goes smoothly. He paused, as if remembering something, and added, to the other me in the world. My consciousness completely detached, dissolving like a gust of wind in the sunlight.